There is a part of you that watches even when your thoughts race, that feels even when your defenses are high, that waits silently beneath the noise of your identity. Carl Jung called this part the self, not your ego, not your mask, not your roles, but your true center, the wholeness that existed before the world taught you to divide yourself. And the purpose of your inner work is not to fix the ego, it's to return to the self. The self is not perfection, it's presence. It doesn't need to be liked. It doesn't fear rejection. It holds both light and shadow. It sees you in your sadness, in your rage, in your longing, and says this too belongs. The self is not the one who performs. It's the one who witnesses. It's the part of you that doesn't collapse when others disapprove, that doesn't inflate when others praise. When you are in the self, you feel grounded without needing to control. You feel clear without needing to explain. You move with honesty without fear of being misunderstood. Because you're no longer acting from fear or desire. You're moving from truth, from integrity, from a center that cannot be taken away by applause or rejection. The self is who you are when you're no longer protecting, but the self is often buried beneath noise, the noise of expectations, the noise of trauma, the noise of culture, the voice that says be good, be strong, be quiet, be successful, and over time that voice becomes internal. You confuse it for your own, and the more you obey it, the further you move from the self, and the more anxious, empty, or fake you begin to feel. The ego is not evil, but it is afraid. It's a survival mechanism. It's the part of you that wants control, validation, safety. It fights to maintain your image, your persona, your sense of being right. But the self is not concerned with image. It's concerned with essence. It doesn't shout, it waits, it doesn't argue, it observes. It doesn't need to win it. Simply, as Jung believed that the path of individuation is the return to the self, not by destroying the ego, but by placing it in service of the self. The ego wants to be seen. The self wants to see. The ego wants to be right. The self wants to be real. The ego seeks separation. The self seeks wholeness. And the moment you remember that difference, you begin the journey home. You cannot reach the self through force, only through attention. You find it in stillness, in reflection, in moments of deep honesty when you say, I am afraid, and I will not run. I am hurt, and I will not hide. I am flawed, and I will not pretend. The self responds to truth, to humility, to presence. It meets you when you are real, not when you are impressive. Most people spend their lives far from the self, chasing goals that don't satisfy, chasing love that doesn't see them, chasing images that never feel like home. They think they need more, but what they need is to return to their center, not to what the world said they should be, but to who they were before they learned to abandon themselves. The self has no agenda. It doesn't demand, it invites. It doesn't panic, it waits. It doesn't judge, it understands. It has watched you pretend, betray, hide and strive, and it has never stopped being there, never stopped waiting for the moment you would turn inward and ask, who am I beneath all this noise? When you find the self, you stop clinging to identity, you stop fighting to prove, you stop needing to perform. And in that stillness, something shifts you. No longer move from fear or ambition. You move from truth, from alignment, from a place that knows, not guesses, not hopes, but knows. And in that knowing, you are finally free. The self is not separate from the world. It is your deepest way of being in the world when you act from the self. Your words carry resonance. Your silence carries peace. Your presence calms the room. Not because you try, but because you are. Because you're connected to something deeper than survival, deeper than image, deeper than approval. And yet this connection must be practiced. The ego returns quickly. The roles reattach easily. The fear of rejection creeps back in, but you now have a compass not outside, but within. And when you stray, the self gently brings you back to breath, back to truth. Back to presence, you stop chasing and start listening. You listen to your own rhythm, to your own pain, to your own joy. You stop outsourcing your center and start anchoring within. And from that anchoring, your life begins to take a new shape. Not built on reaction, but on authenticity. Not built on protection, but on expression. Not built on image, but on soul. If today you feel lost, disconnected, confused, you are not broken. You are just far from your center, and the way back is not to push, but to pause. Not to prove, but to feel, not to hustle, but to listen. The self is not found in performance. It is found in presence, in the simple return to what has always been waiting. And when you find it, you will recognize it, not by how it looks, but by how it feels. The tension will loosen, the pretending will stop, the searching will end. Not because you have all the answers, but because you are finally asking the right question: who am I when I no longer abandon myself?